Soon, a kitchen island will be added to this house, which means the radiator needs to make way. A perfect job for Roger. In part 1, he will actually first move the socket. In part 2, he can effortlessly resolve the problem with the radiator, ensuring it functions properly. With this job too, everything starts with measuring well. Measure how far the radiator will shift. In our case, it is the width of the radiator. Where does this point come out in relation to the socket? This is how you know how far you need to extend the socket. Immediately take over the left and right side of the socket. Also indicate the height. Take the top and bottom of the socket housing. Remove the plate from the socket. There is still tension on the electric circuit. You can clearly see that on the tension meter. The light is on. If not yet done, first switch off the electricity circuit in the fuse box. Soon you will extend the power cable, so there needs to be a slot in this wall. To facilitate its placement, you want it to be as straight as possible. With a level, you can easily mark that off. Move the socket according to the rules of the art. Get well informed, because there are specific rules about the direction of the cable, the depth of the trench, and so on. There will certainly be a noticeable amount of dust since we will break open the wall. It's always wise to take some precautions to safeguard the working area. Time to provide a recess in the wall, specifically for a cable and an electrical outlet. In our case, we utilize a hole saw to work in stone, which attaches to a stone drill. The hole saw possesses a diameter precisely adapted to the diameter of the hollow wall box that Roger is planning to use. You normally use this specific type with either cellular concrete or a false wall, but it now also has the significant advantage that it is easier to install compared to having to meticulously carve out a square for a universal flush-mounted box that you would otherwise use during renovation. Just highlight the center a bit more with the pencil. Attach the hole saw, protect our eyes and ears, and clear the hole. Don't sit and fiddle and push, but let the hole saw do all the work quietly for you. Once you think you're deep enough, start chiseling out the remaining material. Pretest the hollow wall box. Then comes the slot offer along which you will lay the cabling. You can do that with a grinding wheel, but to avoid a lot of dust, Roger chooses to chisel again. It doesn't matter if a bit too much of the plaster crumbles off. You can later cover that up with some quick plaster. Carefully remove all the unnecessary material. The inner part of the socket can now be carefully detached. Just testing the voltage for precaution, ensuring safety. All's okay. Unscrew the wires. There is still a part of the built-in box in the way. A multi-tool indeed comes in handy for quick removal. Of course, nothing stops you from starting with a regular chisel. For a similar outlet, you use a wire with a thickness of 2.5 square millimeters or square, and a wire with 3 conductors or power wires consisting of a neutral wire, phase wire, and a ground wire. Disassemble the wire with a utility knife. Do not cut, but make a shallow incision by turning the wire around the utility knife. That is enough to actually break the casing. You are now at the point where it's perfectly fine to remove the jacket. Feel free to do so at your convenience. Thread the wire carefully into the slot and leave around 10 centimeters available, ensuring you have ample wire length to make the connection later. Cut the wire now. Now also dismantle the other end of the cable. Utilize a wire stripper to carefully strip the ends of the electrical conductors. Don't turn with the pliers, but squeeze and pull away. This way, you will not damage the internal copper wires. Strip about 1 centimeter bare from each wire, ensuring safety. Do this for each end of the cables. You can connect the wires most easily using splice connectors. Always match color to color. Insert the cable into the slot and bring out the hollow wall box. There are recesses in it that you can push out without too much force. Check where the cable will emerge and carefully click away the part where you intend to pull the cable into the hollow wall box. There is still a little bit of biting work needed. There is almost more space available to fix the cable. Time to definitively put the hollow wall box in its place. Clear space, clean up stone and plaster waste. You can easily fix the jar with quick-drying plaster. Clean, fresh water is indeed necessary for that. Always read the instructions on the package, comprehensively. Respect the correct ratio of water versus powder. For such a small job, it's quite handy to make small proportions, so you don't have too much surplus product that you have to throw away anyway. So, take a small jar and with precision, dilute it with water. Gently stir until it's thoroughly mixed. Do not add too much water. You can always simply add some water until you get a suitable mortar. For a good adhesion, moisten the groove. Otherwise, the stone wall will extract moisture from the plaster too quickly, and the hardening process will not proceed correctly. Spread quick dry plaster paste into the slot. Make it as smooth as possible, but don't worry about genuinely wanting to make it a sleek masterpiece. Later, you still have to gently sand and, if necessary, apply an additional layer of finisher. It's important you now fill the slot sufficiently. You have quickly anchored the hollow wall box in place by sticking some quick plaster on it and pushing it into place. Ensure collar fits tight against the wall. Maybe less fun to do, but don't wait with it. Now that the species is still soft, you get the tools cleaned quickly. Otherwise it dries up and you have a lot more work to do. The rapid drying plaster has indeed already dried and somewhat cured after a good half hour. Don't start pushing in with big force yet, but you can gently scrape off impurities with, for example, a putty knife. Then, a gentle and light sanding process is indeed entirely possible. All that remains is to securely install the blank plate precisely where the previous socket was. For this, you specifically need a universal socket and an ideally matching housing. You click the blanking plate onto the base. Blast pedestal in niche. Align the pedestal properly, using a precise level. You then securely fasten the base by meticulously screwing in the 2 snap hooks. These adjustable feet, when tightened, firmly grip into the wall, ensuring stability. And then, you just click the blanking plate and housing on it. Just connect the new socket. The wires are ready, and here the blue neutral wire is on the left, the brown phase wire is on the right, and the grounding wire is in the middle. Make sure no copper is visible at the connections of each wire. Push the pedestal into the niche. Ensure a nice placement with the level and then screw the base tight with the clamps. Once the housing is assembled, all that remains is to reinstall the fuse of the electrical circuit. The lamp is burning and looking forward to the next part of the job. Moving the radiator. Roger tackles that in part 2.